hope you all are loving this like Ariana Grande circa 2012 moment, like the way music video hairdo. I'm giving it more of a preschool spin. So, today, I am hoping that I will finally be able to film my top 10 books of 2022, and I do realize it is like mid to late January at this point. By the time I edit this video, it will probably be late January and this video will no longer be relevant. But I figured it's a pretty good way to introduce myself and continue to have everyone kind of be able to figure out what my reading vibe is. So yeah, let's just get right into it and let's save some time. Let's be efficient. Let's cut the fat. Let's just get the heck into it. So, for your ease and mine, I have decided to break up this list not in numerical order from best to worst, but actually by genre. So we're gonna kick it off with probably my favorite genre, which is literary/contemporary fiction. We're starting off strong with The Story of a Lost Child by Elena Ferrante. So this is the 4th book in the Neapolitan series, and I read that starting in 2021, and it is so good. It is definitely my favorite book series ever, and I'm going to have to make a full video on it, I think. But just for a bit of background, it follows 2 characters, Lena and Elena, as they grow up from like 4-year-old to about 60. And at this point, we're seeing them later in life raise their kids and all of the, turmoil, trauma, drama, romance, fighting, all that fun stuff that happens in their lives. Elena is like our, good girly. She went to school, she did all the right things, but when we catch her in this book, she has made some mistakes and she is having to deal with the consequences. And our girl Lena is very chaotic. When I was trying to think of how to describe her, she's like Manny Pixie Dream Girl, but like feral. The thing I love about these books is that they are just so beautifully well written, and they're like poetry kind of, but also really cut to the feeling of the story, and really are able to capture a unique image of female friendship that I think is just so good. And I'm definitely gonna have to make a video about this whole series, so stay tuned for that. The next book that I'm gonna be talking about, I would say probably my second favorite book of the year, which I finished up like right as the year finished, was A Man Called Ove by Fredrik Backman. I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. I've seen it pronounced and heard it pronounced several different ways, but I have loved other Fredrik Backman novels. I've read Beartown and Us Against You, and I love them both. They are both 5-star reads from me, so I was a little nervous to pick this up because everyone loves this book, and I was kind of worried it wouldn't hold up to my love of Beartown, but it was so good. It was amazing. I started reading it in August, and it took me until like December 29th to finish it because it hurt me. It was so sad and so heartbreaking, but also so heartwarming by the end that it's definitely worth the journey. It's just, he writes so, again, I think very similar to Elena Ferrante. He cuts right to the feeling with his writing. He's a bit more conservative and like not as flowery in his writing. Maybe that's because he's Swedish, I don't know. But it is just so good. If you haven't heard of the premise, it's kind of like the first 10 minutes of Up expanded and even sadder. So we meet Ove, and he's actually trying to KMS. And we learn about his life and learn about like kind of the way he is. He's a very grumpy Gus, and we learn why he's a grumpy Gus. And we also see him meet more of his neighborhood and develop a bit more of a relationship with the people around him. And it's, like I said, it makes you super, super sad, but it also makes you super, super happy. And it's heartwarming. And by the end, I think I had cried probably about 1 liter of tears. And for you Americans, about 1/2 gallon of tears. The last book in our literary/contemporary genre is Carrie Soto Was Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This might be a bit of a controversial take. I know most people weren't as in love with this book as they were with her other books like 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which I think I also read this year, but this one really hit the spot for me. It kind of hit a crossroads of a lot of different kinds of books I like to read. It's a like sports inspiring story. It's like a father-daughter story. So Carrie Soto is a successful tennis star. She's like the most successful tennis player ever. She has the most Grand Slam titles. And then 10 years later, one or the other. There's this up-and-coming tennis player who is threatening her title and has one less slam title than her. So Carrie's like, yeah, that's not gonna fly. She re-enters tennis and starts training, and we're going on this journey with her while we're also in a dual POV getting her like rise to tennis fame. And a lot of it, as I said, is focused on her relationship with her father, and it was just super inspiring. I love a sports story. I used to be a sporty girl back in the day, so it hit that part for me. If you're a fan of Taylor Jenkins Reid, her writing is just, it kind of just always hits. Like, she's just so good at telling very intriguing stories that you never want to put down. Like, I finished this in 2 days. But yeah, definitely give it a read if you were hesitant, if you weren't a huge fan of the premise, like a sports book. It is more so like an inspiration and like a human story piece than an actual sports book. Heading in to our next genre, and my actual only pick in this category, nonfiction. It is the biggest, probably most popular book that was released this year, so I'm really unique and different actually, but it is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy, and it is her memoir of her experience growing up with an extremely abusive mother, and also her experience with childhood fame being on iCarly and then Sam and Cat, and like her experiences with her, as I said, very abusive mother, very traumatic childhood, her history with eating disorders and a little bit of like alcohol abuse, and it's kind of touches on everything that's traumatic. So I would give those trigger warnings a read if you aren't familiar with the content of this book, but it's worth the hype is kind of the whole consensus on this book for me. Jeanette is an amazing storyteller. You can tell that this started out as a one-woman play because it flows really well. I read a couple of other memoirs this year, and I found that was the sticking point for me, was they cover some great anecdotes. It's just they don't really flow well together, and I think Jeanette was able to overcome that by just being an amazing storyteller and crafting this through line between all of these stories that like made you want to keep reading. Our next category is our fantasy sci-fi, which I'm very excited for. It was a big year for fantasy for me, but my number one fantasy of the year was Pure Nessie by Susanna Clarke. So Pure Nessie isn't like a fantasy book in the most traditional sense. It's not very like Tolkien. It doesn't follow a hero's journey. It's more of an atmospheric book. What Clarke does really well is she's able to build this really intriguing environment that's very barren because it's just Pure Nessie really in this world, but you are able to get to know him and the environment, and you really feel like you're in it. It combines a couple of different genres, I would say. It's fantasy, but it's also kind of like literary fiction in the way that it's kind of no plot, just vibes, which is not very fantasy-like. And it also, I would say, a little bit of sci-fi and speculative fiction, kind of, because there's a little bit of like sci-fi sprinkled in, and also a little bit of dark academia. So I would just kind of go into this blind if you can. Any information you can get beyond what to expect, I think, would be a spoiler, but it is so good and so worth the read. My sci-fi edition, it's kind of more speculative fiction, but what's really the difference is Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. And I was a huge fan of Station 11. I read it while I was in university. That was her first book in this kind of universe that she's built. And then the next one was Glass Hotel. I didn't love Glass Hotel. It was kind of like a 3.5, 4-star book for me. I was confused the whole time. But after reading Sea of Tranquility, I feel like Glass Hotel was really just build up for that. So I think if you haven't read Glass Hotel, I'd maybe read that before Sea of Tranquility. You probably don't need to read Station 11, but if you haven't read Station 11, I would definitely do it. Right, so Sea of Tranquility. Let's get back on track. Sea of Tranquility is... again, it's kind of similar to Pure Nessie. It's like, I don't know what's going on, girl. Things are happening and I'm along for the ride. Emily St. John Mandel is able to write in like a very mysterious way. So sometimes when you think you know what's happening, the next chapter you figure out you have no idea what's going on. And that happened to me pretty much the last half of this book. The first half of the book, you're kind of like, why are we following these people? What's going on? Is this important? And it turns out, yes, it's all important. The whole thing is important. So you start off in like the 1800s, I think, with this, our first point of view character, and then you go in through, there's I think by the end of the book, maybe like 6 or 7 different point of views all throughout history, like hundreds and hundreds of years. Some's on the moon, some's on Earth. It's very interesting. So if you like weird sci-fi books that are they take a little bit of your brain to read, then I would recommend this. Into our second to last category, we are heading into the young adult category. And seeing as I am turning 25 this year, I don't think I'm a young adult anymore. I'm a new adult. I don't know what's going on. I'm new. I'm trying. I still read YA because they are sometimes just more fun and sometimes to help break you out of a reading slump, which is what these 2 books did for me. So the first one that I'm going to be recommending in my top 10 books of the year is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So we kick off with our girl Avery, who has recently inherited billions and billions of dollars from this like super mega rich man who recently passed away in Texas. But the only stipulation is that she has to live in his house for a year. So she travels down to his house and meets his 4 hot sons and has a love triangle, and it's in a spooky weird house that's really cool and kind of like Knives Out. So that was super interesting. There's a cast of kooky characters and a great setting, and yeah, what else do you want? What more do you want in your romance? YA mystery books? I don't know. Our second YA is kind of more YA fantasy. I probably could have put this in fantasy, but it is Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Robertson. The book starts off with our main character, Elizabeth, who is a librarian in training. And in this world, there's magic, but all the magic is tied to books. So being a librarian, she's kind of like a knight of magic, and she like protects magic and makes sure everything okay. She one night gets framed for being a bad girl, and she has to go and live with a sorcerer who, in this world, in her world, sorcerers are evil. So she's real spooked about it. But she forms a relationship with the sorcerer, and there's mystery, it's just kind of has everything you want in your YA fantasy. It's got a little bit of romance, it's cute, but it also has, I think, a really interesting magic system, and I'm a little disappointed it's not a series because I'd like to see more of it. But yeah, it's just a really great read, and if you're looking for something like a fantasy, like quick bite, I would highly, highly recommend it. Back to our last category. So, this has kind of been a theme through all the other ones, but we're heading into just our straight romance reads. And this year was my romance renaissance. I was kind of living my romance girly life, and probably my favorite romance book I read this year was Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. I know, everyone else likes this book too, so I'm not unique in this, but it is so cute. So the whole premise for this book is it is a childhood best friends to lovers thing, but also like second chance romance. Those are kind of the main themes of it. So we meet I don't remember their names. So we meet our girly, and she has not talked to our boy in like 10 years, and we don't know why. And we go on kind of a dual timeline story where we see her reconnecting with him and like that relationship, and then we also see like her and him becoming friends for the first time. So they're in their early teens when they first meet, and they fall in friendship, only friendship, I'm not spoiling anything. They become friends because they're both big readers. I'm a reader. I'm a Shailene Woodley reader. Her and her dad buy this lake house. They move up there, and he's her next door neighbor. And it's very cute. Everything is very, very cute. So if you don't like cutesy romance, you're probably not going to like this. It's not smutty. It is just a good old love story. It's so cute. It's one of those ones that like make you like I can't do it. But like it's like a kick your heel romance. I'm trying to show my heel, but you can't see. I was really hooked because I wanted to know what happened. And this is one of those things, like I read a couple books this year where it was like dual POV and you're figuring out like why aren't they friends anymore. And this one was pretty valid. I would say it's a pretty valid reason to not want to be friends with someone or not want to be like romantically linked to someone anymore. And it's a little sad, but it's not too sad. So it still maintains its cute romance vibe. But it's very summery, so if you're looking for a read next summer, like a romance beach read type thing, I highly, highly recommend this book. And our last book on this list is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. Again, a nice romance, cute little romance which is what I wanted this year. I didn't want, like, you know, smutty wounds. I just wanted a cute little like that. You know what I mean? Yes. Okay. So, The Hating Game by Sally Thorne is, as you can guess by the title, an enemies to lovers romance. It's also, like, set in an office, like they're office rivals. There's some things in it that I don't love. Like, she's so small and he is so tall. Like, you don't understand how tall he is. It kind of has that trope, but it's still, I think they use it sparsely enough that it's, like, still readable. Obviously, it's still readable. It's my top 10 books of the year. I like a workplace romance book, so I thought that was cute. I initially read this book because my friend Nicole really liked it, and the movie came out this year with Lucy Hale and a brown-haired man. I don't know who, but she said the movie wasn't great. So I would say read the book, don't watch the movie. And if I'm wrong, that's not my opinion, it's Nicole's opinion, so that's on her. Interesting tidbit, I thought if I was going to put an enemies to lovers office romance book in this slot, it would be Book Lovers, because when I read Book Lovers, I was like, this is the best book I've ever read. I love it so much. And then I haven't thought about it since. Who are the characters? Ava? I don't know the character names in this book either, so I don't know who I think I am. But this one really stuck with me, so I think that means it's a good book. That's the rating. Can I remember it? Yes. Is it a good book? Sure. Yeah, so that's the end of this video. As we went through the list, I was a little confused because I've read so many of these books in, like, January to June. That was kind of like when my reading thriving was happening. So I'm sorry if I don't remember all of the names of the characters, you know, the important stuff. But overall, I recommend all of these. If there's any genre here that you're particularly interested in, I would say take my suggestions if you want. I don't know. Especially the Neapolitan series. If you haven't read that one, go for it. And there's definitely a video coming on why that series is so good. So I would say my top 3. I'm going to rank them. Story of a Lost Child, A Man Called Ove, and Love in Other Words. Those are my top 3 of this year. My next video I'm hoping that I'll make is my biggest flops of 2022, because I read a good amount of books this year, so I do have some flops, and I think it'll be funnier when I talk about them. So stay tuned for that video, and if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, please subscribe, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Bye!